Apostles. Christian Fauria goes in on Coach Prime, and he might not be wrong. And I'll explain to you why. We have to talk about Joe Judge, who in the Trinidad Chambliss hearing about his eligibility said the most unhinged thing about having a baby, and he might not be wrong either. We got to talk about how Drew Brees and the butterfly effect with him not going to the Miami Dolphins got Alabama 6 national championships. We got to talk about what's going on, the serious situation over at BYU. And there may be a new schedule hack that the Pac 12 is doing at the end of the season that other conferences need to adopt. And the ACC and the Big 12 would have benefited from doing that last year. And how Mike McDonald winning the Super Bowl impacts Michigan and so much more. Here on the College Football Apostles, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and share with a friend. And most importantly, listen, go on and leave a comment and tell everybody about it. This is the best damn show that there is. In all transparency, listen, we don't edit a lot of stuff out of this show. But if you've been watching us for a while, you know that it used to be the Pac 12 Apostles, and then it is the College Football Apostles. And every now and then, George reverts because we got to talk about the Pac 12 today. And, had to take about 5 takes on it. But I'm George Wrighster. He is Ralph Amsden, a.k.a. Rain Man, the man who knows everything that you wish that you did and then somehow wish that you didn't at the end. But we're gonna start today. We had so obviously Deion Sanders is a big polarizing figure in college football, pro football. His son Shador Sanders, and for some reason that if you criticize Deion in any type of way, people look at you as like anti-black, that you're not down for the culture and this and that. But Christian Fauria said something on a podcast, and honestly, Ralph, I'm not sure he's wrong.
But we would have to educate. This is always a tough conversation to have. It's not going to.
I just don't like the way he coaches football. I don't think he's very bright. I don't think he can manage a game. I think there's a lot of flash, but I think there's no substance, and he's got a lot of people like brainwashed. I'm not a fan of him. Not a fan of his coaching style, not a fan of his messaging. There's a lot of things, internally that I know about that I'm not a fan of. And it's just not worth my energy to sit there and follow it and go back and forth with the Emperor Has No Clothes crowd that support him regardless of how stupid he is sometimes. They got a new scoreboard. Hey, listen, Fox is like fine. If that's what if that is what gets you going, then good for you. All your victories are hollow in my book. If all you care about is relevancy, they're hollow. They mean nothing. Win the Big 12.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. So first thing, yes, I started out with the wrong clip. My bad. Second thing is, if you don't know why Christian Fauria is even important to Colorado, you have to know that he won a national title in 1990 with Bill McCartney, and then 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots in the 2000s. So he's got credentials, right? And people are like, there's this blind following of Deion Sanders. Now, actually, I'll ask you, Ralph, what was your reaction to what Christian Fauria said?
I was a little heavy-handed, but you know me, I'm an ideologue when it comes to this stuff. If you played for a university and you got your degree from a university, you get to speak on that university, period. Whether people like it or not, no matter what their reactions are, I'm like not necessarily like a free speech absolutionist or whatever. Played somewhere, you get to speak on that situation, and then people get to judge if it's sour grapes or if there's any merit to it. But he's well within his right to sound off. This is a program that garners a lot of attention. Colorado doesn't really have too many players out there that could probably speak into this situation and cut through the noise and not come off as jealous or something like that. I think that Christian Fauria, I think he wants the program to do well. And honestly, there's probably a list of about 20 things that I don't love that Deion has done while he's at Colorado. But we've talked about on this show plenty of times. I think that Deion Sanders is a net positive for the University of Colorado. I think he's elevated the University of Colorado. We had the opportunity to cover University of Colorado up close for a while. They were less than junk. They belonged in the FCS. And relevancy does matter. A lot of the criticisms that he levied have a ton of merit. He is kind of coaching off vibes. The way he manages the offensive coordinator role is mind-blowing to me. I don't fully understand it. I think if you have a talent collector mindset, you got to be intelligent enough to surround yourself with people who can scheme in a way that's going to set everybody in your program up for success. And as you pointed out to me before we went on air, George, Colorado's sending 0 people to the NFL Combine this year, and that's kind of why you have Deion in place. So if he's not immune to criticism, just like anybody else in college football is not immune to criticism, but it stings when it's one of your own.
I've gone back and forth about how I was going to talk about this, but I would agree with you. Christian Fauria's take was a little bit heavy-handed, but then I thought about what I thought about it, and I was like, damn. So here it is. The way people look at Deion Sanders. Actually, first of all, let me say, I'm like Tyra Banks in that I was rooting for you. I want Deion Sanders to be successful. I want him to be successful. I want Colorado to continue to grow and be good, because I remember when they used to be good when I was in school. And then going back to Rashawn Salam and Cordell Stewart and Westbrook and all them dudes. I want that for them. Deion's not doing the fundamentals right now. And he was brought in, he's going to disrupt college football and all of this. Ralph, right now, it reminds me of Donald Trump. There is an expected blind loyalty and following just because you voted for him or you like him or anything else. Like you are supposed to blindly follow regardless of all signs telling you that you're moving in the wrong direction. Think about this. What is the lifeblood in college football? Recruiting and talent acquisition. Deion Sanders has been in 0 kids' homes. 0. And this idea, well, there are only, and then he tried to sell people, well, the reason why I don't go on the road and go to high schools and all of this is because if I go to one school, then somebody else is going to be mad if I don't. No, man, you're just being lazy. You don't want to get on the road and recruit. It's the truth. It is hard work. But you know who does it? Kurt Signetti does it. Just won a national championship. Kirby Smart beats the streets. Dan Lanning beating the streets. Like all the schools that are, Kyle Whittingham beating the streets. All the coaches that win, they beat the streets. You have to do that to recruit. And the idea, and I said this from the beginning, and everybody told me I was crazy. Oh, George, he's just going to portal players and portal. You don't get good enough talent in the portal, like to be able to fill a roster. And it doesn't mean great players don't hop in the portal, because as you can see, there's plenty of people who hop in the portal, but they don't all go to one place. So you can, and offensive and defensive linemen, they're gonna be like, well, Jordan Seaton hopped in the portal. That is one player who went to one team. You don't see 10 top tier linemen available. And then you got to fight it out with Oregon and LSU and Alabama and Georgia and Miami and all of them schools too. So you're not going to get all of them. High school recruiting is the lifeblood of your program. There is no way around it. Like it's the fundamentals. Like Klay Thompson shoots the ball differently than Steph Curry. They're two of the best shooters of all time. You know what? That elbow, it's a repeatable motion. Kobe, keep your shoulders square, even if you're fading away. Michael Jordan, all of it. You can't dodge the fundamentals, and Deion is not doing the fundamentals right now. And Christian Fauria is right. Clock management has been bad at times. Like the way he's managed his offensive coordinator position, all of this stuff. Ralph, I want him to be successful, but everything points to, and mind you, he just finished year 3, and I know that there's a big learning curve from going from FCS sometimes up to FBS. He's been a coach for a minute. He's not doing the fundamentals.
Some of that I think is absolutely unassailably true. There's I think there's a lot of fundamentals. I think that he tries as hard as he can to institute discipline. There are some good things. It hits me weird calling the man stupid.
Yes,
but
that's highly aggressive.
Yeah, it is because I've always found Deion Sanders to be like very emotionally intelligent, very traditionally, conventionally intelligent, but often high on his own supply. And so I wonder if he gets into a situation and people are like, but Prime, people do it this way. And he'll be like, well, but those people ain't Prime, baby. And that's not, that's just not how college football works. It's still, Nick Saban earned the right to not be on social media, but every kid that ran through that program went through his old wood paneled office. I've seen every kid,
also,
every
if
single
Nick
kid in
Saban were
America.
getting into coaching now, he would be on social media.
Yeah, and here's the other thing that you do have to ask yourself about Deion Sanders. Strip away the assistants and the Aflac commercials, all that stuff. If he showed up to, let's go with Allen High School in Texas, they got what, like a 60,000 seat high school football stadium. So let's say he shows up to Allen, okay? No recruiting allowed. You just got to show up. You're the head coach now. You got to make the team better. Bunch of high schoolers, right? Just off of your coaching, your ability to build a staff to go out on Friday night and get wins. I don't think he would be the number one candidate at a big time high school off of just his ability to coach.
And that's the part that people have gotten lost, is that I heard people saying, oh my God, for Florida State, they should, or Michigan, they should hire Prime. I'm like, for what? Like, there's nothing that has happened. And mind you, this sounds like a slander fest, but I do believe that he is a coach who is trying to instill the right values into kids, that he does care. I think that, some people feel like he's, really caters to the top of the roster way more than the middle and the bottom of the roster, which I think is important for a coach to do. But I do believe he means well. But I do think that that he subscribes to the I'm Deion, I can figure it out. And it's not that he's not smart enough to figure it out. It just feels like he's unwilling to do the fundamentals that it's going to take to build to take the parts that, because nobody is all good or all bad. Kirby Smart has bad stuff, Dan Lanning has bad stuff, Kurt Signetti has bad stuff. Everybody's got bad stuff about him. But the parts of Deion that are amazing, to turn those into wins, he has to do those fundamentals and then add them to his special sauce. And then you would have championship caliber teams.
I also think that the advent of NIL, at first it was exciting because, like, man, if somebody's going to pay me, I might as well go play for Deion. If you're in the head of a 17, 18-year-old, then yeah, that makes plenty of sense. But now we got handlers and agents and stuff like that, and it really is about being in the best situation. And because you have 2, 3, and 9 seasons, they're not going to get considered like that, even if they're matching financial contributions. In a world before people were getting paid, getting coached by Deion Sanders would be a great separator. Now, when you can get money, what you're going to be looking at is how many people got invited to the combine. And man, this also is a short memory industry, because we're a year off of Travis Hunter winning a Heisman, but he goes out and he doesn't look spectacular as a rookie, and then Colorado goes 3-9 again, and then all of a sudden Boulder's not the hot place to be anymore, and people are going to start to judge you on merit. The one thing Colorado has going for him, and I say this as an Arizona State graduate, when you got a celebrity as your head coach, you at least want to make sure that they're a control freak, like that they have their hands in all aspects of what you're doing. And at least Colorado has that. I don't think the program is going to burn to the ground. And first of all, he literally can't leave it off worse than he found it. He cannot. It's impossible. Um, but what we went through this at Arizona State with a celebrity TV personality being head of the program, and he had his head in the clouds. He was Mr. Magoo. At least Deion Sanders knows these kids, knows what's going on with his team. The arrogance and the star factor might ultimately be the death of his term there, but you can't say that he didn't have, even if he was to quit right now, you can't say that he didn't have an extremely positive impact on Colorado as a whole. But now Christian Fauria, he's going to be Colorado Buffalo for the rest of his life. He's not thinking about this small window. He's thinking about the overall long-term health of the program. He doesn't believe in the direction, but when he calls out Deion, he's like, then go win.
Yep.
Like, go win the Big 12, then we'll talk. And honestly, like, that is the mindset that you got to have, because otherwise it's
How
just
much
flash.
longer? Because Colorado posted record revenues and all this stuff. How much longer do they give Deion if they don't win? Well, actually, how much longer do they give them? Because if they don't go to a bowl game this season, I think that you got to consider at least that it's time to call it.
I agree with you. I agree with you, because it's not just beyond that. It's the health issues. It's um, the game can pass you by really quickly. So you can come in with a philosophy, and the entire college football industry can shift under your feet, and your strategy could be irrelevant just a couple of years later. So, Colorado they're getting a new athletic director. They got to do what's best for them. And if he's not what's best for them, that's what's going to show up in their record this year. They got to have improvement from the quarterback position for sure.
Yep.
That Juju has got to, he's got to go out there and he's got to prove that he can carry this offense. They have to show that they can run the ball. They have to show that they can function without Jordan Seaton. That's going to be tough. And then defensively, they're going to have to hold their own. There's a lot of teams who have elevated in the Big 12 while Colorado stagnated last year. You got to worry about a Houston. You got to worry about Kansas State getting Colin Klein back. There's a lot of stuff, another 3-4 win season, and you got to find a person who's going to come in and help you compete with everybody else in the conference.
Yep. I 100% agree with you, bro. And this is where we got to figure out, like where Deion has got to put the proof in the pudding. He got to put something on wax. He's got to put some wins down. All right. Next thing up. So, Joe Judge. Well, to go back, Trinidad Chambliss is in the middle of a hearing about his eligibility. And there's a larger point to this. First thing is, when the NFL has been in litigation with its players, Tom Brady and and other players, Ezekiel Elliott, all of that. I have said that the thing that fans hate the most is there's the leagues being in fights with the actual athletes. And in college football, we're having that time and time again. We've had it with Damon Williams already, with Darian Mensah. We've had it with Diego Pavia, and now Trinidad Chambliss, and other players as well. The wide receiver Tez from North Carolina from a couple years ago. USC had one this last year. And that goes to a larger point about what I've just been banging the drum about. Collective bargaining is the only way forward, because if things are collective bargain, you don't even have to have these discussions, because the players would have signed up for whatever the rules are when they start, and then you go from there. That's it. And then these lawsuits and TROs, temporary restraining orders, they'll go to court and they'll be like, sorry, bye. No. I mean, it was like when oh my gosh, the running back from Ohio State, Maurice Claret, when he challenged the NFL's rule about coming out early. Wrong, sorry, it ain't gonna work out for you, pal. Same way. So in this situation, Trinidad Chambliss fighting for his eligibility, and something came out of this that literally had no relation to the situation. And Joe Judge, who obviously coaches at Ole Miss now, former Giants head coach, former special teams coordinator. Here's what I'll just play it.
But we would have to educate. This is always a tough conversation to have. It's not going to be a popular thing, but this is the truth. We would have to educate significant others who may have been pregnant during the season, or going to have a baby during the season. And you'd have to educate them on, you have this baby in the middle of the season. That father has to play good football, right? It's a day-by-day production business. He has to be ready to perform and go out there and play. And when I say that is, you need to let him sleep. He needs to be in another room, detached. You have to explain to the mother, like, hey, listen, he ain't waking up for midnight feedings. After the season, he's full metal jacket. You do whatever you want with him. And he can change every diaper. But in season, he's got to have a different priority. Now,
Your reaction, Ralph.
Ooh, boy, that particular clip, which why does it exist, has garnered some very, very strong reactions online. As a matter of principle, I'll just say this: one of the biggest things I've ever done is, before you and I met, I had a blog. It was like a parenting blog. It's like the biggest thing I've ever done. And one thing that I noticed is, and I never really did this, but if I ever ventured into that territory of talking about a way I did something as if it was the correct way to do it, especially with something as like intimate as like raising a newborn baby, you're going to get a lot of opinions. And so I always try to, anytime you get into the conversation of like, should you be there for the birth if you're a professional athlete, or this whole thing that happened with Mike McDonald talking about only seeing his 1-year-old for half an hour a week, people go crazy. I will say this: there's an Ayn Randian selfishness for the greater good that does exist when you're in a very, very specific situation, like a college football player who has a newborn baby during the season. I want everyone to know that's watching this, if that very specific situation does not apply to you, you don't have to get mad or even think about what you would do in that situation that you're never going to be in a million years. However, if the best thing for that baby is a world-class athlete getting 9 hours of sleep so that he can provide for that baby, then that is a decision that needs to be made at an individual family level, but might be found to be the best decision for that family. We can't act like that's not a real thing, or that it doesn't have ultimate benefits for that family unit moving forward. You can't act like it doesn't. But again, if this situation has nothing to do with you, maybe don't get a cortisol spike and freak out, because there's plenty of other terrible things going on in the world that we can worry about. But I will say, people are unhappy with this quote, dude.
All right. Joe Judge said the quiet part out loud. He said the part that people really don't want to hear. He said the part that makes you uncomfortable. There's no balance in the middle of doing something spectacular and doing something great. I cannot be the best father in the whole world and be the best athlete in the whole world. It's impossible because they take up too much time and there's going to require sacrifice. And especially, but it also depends on how you look at it. Because you can say, I'm being the best athlete in the entire world, and this is trying to take care of my family, but I'm also in the process not neglecting my family. So that's where the rub comes in, is that you can be world class and single focused on something. Well, yeah, single focused on something while also not neglecting something else. Because the idea, yes, he does. Joe Judge is 100% right. Your dude, he does need to get some sleep. Or your woman, if she is the like if you guys had a baby and you happen to be married to Candace Parker or Allison Felix. I see Felix's husband all the time at school. He's doing a lot of the daddy duty stuff right now because she is off, especially during Olympics times and all that stuff. You got to pick up the slack. And people sometimes who haven't been married or unsuccessfully married, they're like, oh, it's just got to be 50-50. Yeah, it's 50-50 over the course of 50 years, but it's not 50-50 at the same time. It's rarely like that.
Yeah, there's never been a 50-50 day in the history of planet Earth. Even in the most successful relationship, you're not going to have a 50-50 day. And this comes the same thing for like the amount of physical toll that it takes to grow a human being.
Yep.
You better not be letting her carry them groceries in. Like
Exactly, bro.
it's there are things that you need to do to take account of the ultimate health of your family down the road, but those decisions get to be made between you, and they don't need to be the business of everyone else. And it also is important to point out that men do play a hand in creating a pregnancy. And so when Joe Judge is like, if you're gonna have a baby in season, all right, well let's table that specific language
Yes. Yeah,
for the
yeah,
time
yeah,
being.
yeah. That one stuck out to me too. I was like, ooh, don't go too far right here, Joe.
But like the actual issue at hand, though, Trinidad Chambliss, is he going to have a shot? Because this here, he got the NCAA denied him again, right? But that doesn't have a bearing on what the judge specifically is doing. He's testifying right now. He said he was 176 pounds as a sophomore. He's testifying, I'm assuming, under oath, under penalty of
Yes.
some type of perjury, that his Ferris State head coach told him he'd be medically redshirted. And
And
that feels
apparently that
important.
there is some corroboration about that too. So
Yeah.
so I but to go back to the judge thing for a second. People are going to be stuck on, oh, it's the patriarchy and this and this. No, man. There are times where, okay, my wife runs our Amazon company, delivering 100,000 packages a week during peak season. She is extremely busy. And so I got to pick up more of the slack with picking kids up. She's got to handle payroll, making sure everybody eats and all of that stuff. And then make sure she has a little bit of time to just relax a little bit. And that doesn't mean that I'm not busy too, but when it's time for me to be on the road, I got to leave every weekend to go to the studio, go interview coaches, this and that. Guess who's picking up the slack then? She is. And sometimes does she complain about it? Yes. Sometimes do I complain about it during peak season? Yes. But then I remember this will all balance out because I know I married a person that has my back too. And but people don't always understand the sacrifice that it takes. Now, forget college players for a second. I want to tackle this as far as pros too, because you just had the Minnesota Vikings. Their general manager got fired, and some people pointed to, oh, because he took paternity leave and all of this stuff. Okay, look, and I know that this is probably going to be unpopular, Ralph. When you are a professional athlete or you're in the professional athlete business as a significant, intricate person to the activities, right? You are an entertainer, okay? You must expect, like, you are very well paid to sacrifice some of your physical health. So when NBA guys are like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to walk when I'm 40 or be in pain. You're making $30 million. Like, shut up. Like, I don't want you to play injured, but I do expect you to play hurt. It's part of the deal. It's part of the contract with the fans. There's a reason why I don't want to hear LeBron James complaining about playing on Christmas for all of these seasons. Yes, it is inconvenient. Yes, would it suck to not be with your family every year? I 100% understand that. I get it. I get the frustration. You are right to feel frustrated. But you also are an entertainer and you signed up to be an entertainer. And you have to be willing, like, you can't want everything at the same time. You do have to be willing to sacrifice time with your family, holidays, birthdays, stuff like that, to be able to live the lifestyle that you want. And now, granted, there is a little bit of a balance for it, but I will tell you this: if I were the owner of a team and my quarterback or my wide receiver, running back, anybody had a baby during the season, and it's not complications. I'm not talking about when somebody has a high risk pregnancy or the health of people isn't doing great. All of this stuff. I do not expect you to take paternity leave. I got to get a new quarterback then. I do. I'm gonna be honest with you. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just we are working toward a goal here, and it's not what regular people are doing. So if you can't sign up for what regular people are doing, then I don't know what to tell you. Now, in the NBA, if somebody misses a regular season game for the birth of a kid, I'm not worried about it as much. NFL stakes are a little bit heightened. I would like you to try to do what most people try to do in a situation is either induce during the week or something like that, which is a sacrifice, right, for the life you live. But if we got to do it on game day and you need to leave the game early, go ahead, get up out of here. But I do think that there's sacrifice that are reasonable sacrifices that are expected to be made that are beyond the sacrifices that normal people are expected to make.
It's just not the real world. It's just not. It isn't, and it'll never be. And you have to be able to recognize that without removing the humanity of the people who participate in this grand fantasy world that has been created. Like, yeah, they're still human beings, and there's nothing more important than bringing a little baby into this world. But it doesn't apply to the person who works in manufacturing or trades stocks or is a school teacher or anything like that. And so, I get that people are going to be mad because they're always going to apply every situation to their own upbringing, value system, and stuff like that. And some people just like to be upset. But this Joe Judge thing, I could not tell you what the importance was of bringing this up at all. But I think the overarching thing that he's trying to say is that this is a really important thing that they're doing that takes full on dedication. And if the whole point was to illustrate that you have to be 100% there, and that Trinidad Chambliss was not when he was at Ferris State, which is why he's deserving of a medical red shirt, that makes sense. But oh boy, the topic of conversation for sure. Be careful what you have to say about this around your significant other, I suppose. or just if you get asked your opinion on this, just be like, I didn't see it. I don't know what
Yeah,
you're talking about.
and if you are if you're an athlete and you're getting with somebody, this is a conversation that you should probably have.
But yeah, but that's the issue. We're talking about young people having babies. They're really thinking about today.
Yep,
And what Joe
100%.
Judge, I think it's important that Joe Judge says is like, hey, you actually do have to think 2 steps ahead. I know you're tired. I know you're thinking about right now, but that light at the end of the tunnel, that might be a freight train. Like, so just let you know what happens to him if he's not 100% at practice. Maybe he gets injured. Maybe food comes off your table. Like you got to factor some of these things in.
Yep. All right. Let's move on to another serious issue. BYU has a situation where their leading wide receiver, Parker Kingston, has been charged with first-degree felony rape, and he's been in jail without bail. And this allegedly an investigation that began in February 2025 after the alleged victim, a then female 20 years old, reported a sexual assault to St. George Regional Hospital. And then BYU put out a statement. They've become aware of the arrest of Parker Kingston. The university takes any allegation very seriously and will cooperate with law enforcement due to federal and university uh, privacy laws and practices for students. The university will not be able to provide additional comment. So we want to tackle this from 2 separate angles. The first angle is this, and I guess I'll address this. This is a year. It went from year from the investigate with February 2025 to February 2026, where an arrest happened after the Jake Ratzliff case, but his was a civil case alleging rape, which is different. I believe that that the people of Utah, that before they brought this case or brought charges, because of the Retzliff situation, this is a very prominent BYU player. Because some people would ask why this took so long, and I initially was like, they probably had to double, triple, quadruple check, and that the prosecutors had to probably go through significantly more hurdles than an ordinary situation. Unless this young lady is a, a family member of a prominent family in Utah or something like that, this don't look good for Parker Kingston to me. So that's the first angle. The second angle of this is BYU's honor code in the modern era. So their honor code is essentially you are not supposed to have sex while unless you are married. If you are found out, you can be suspended, kicked out of school. Like there's various things that can happen. Same thing with alcohol, marijuana, any illicit drugs, anything like that. But now, mind you, you have kids on BYU's campus, and I'm going to give you a term that you can search, but not in front of your kids. It's called soaking.
Come on, man.
We got to be honest around here. If you ain't heard of it, it's a real thing. I'm not even going to explain to you what it is. I'll let the internet tell you. But Ralph, do you believe that BYU's honor code is realistic or enforceable, especially when they're trying to compete on the highest levels in college football and college basketball, and you're going to be getting significantly more non-Mormon kids on campus?
I think it has to be. I think this is what sets you apart if you're BYU. I don't think that you bend your values for anyone or anything. And these are opportunities, like with Jake Ratzliff, to show that this is something that you take seriously. That wearing the Y on your chest, on your helmet, that matters. and there's going to be a lot of people who don't take that seriously because it's college and college kids are going to do what college kids do. But as an aside from that, obviously sexual assault has nothing to do with an honor code regardless. But if somebody, and I've seen a lot of BYU alumni make this point, if somebody is taking the honor code seriously, they're never going to find themselves in one of these situations. I think if a school wants to have a value system that differentiates themselves from other people, that supports the outline of the religion that college represents, then they are well within their right to not only have that code in place, but to enforce it. And that, there's been issues at BYU my entire life. There's this 20 years ago, back when you're in the NFL, George, they had the CJIU, you know, um, issues. They've multiple times had to kick people out. They had a prominent basketball player arrested for DUI and marijuana possession, I think in November, right before the season. um, and this is a thing you're going to have to deal with when you're trying to level up in talent and you bring in people from different backgrounds, but they know the deal. It's not like they're not walked through this, and there's going to be a lot of people who say, yeah, but we know BYU, they'll do what they can for these athletes to make sure that they don't um, that this stuff doesn't come out. But at the same time, like I don't think everybody's unified on that. I think that there's a lot of people affiliated with BYU that this is very, very serious and very, very important to them. When it comes to Parker Kingston, um, I'm I'm definitely like, and this happens every time, and I don't know why it continues to be shocking. But man, the timetable of these investigations for victims and for people, let's say it's a false accusation, okay, not
Yep.
in this particular case but just in any particular case, the timetable it's a complete nightmare. The
Yes, because
idea that
it's
they
long.
don't sit down until June, in this case they don't sit down for a follow-up interview until June, and they don't get DNA testing back, and it's 11 and a half months before you're able to, if this went down the way that it's being alleged, to have to wait a year and then see this person lead BYU in receiving, see them flaunt their engagement at a basketball game and have it posted by the university just a few days ago, to have BYU come out and make a statement saying, hey, we just got made aware of his arrest. And that language is really important because they're not saying that they weren't aware that
Of
this
an
accusation
investigation.
existed over the course of the year.
Yeah.
All of this is such a nightmare for people who are victims of sexual assault. And even if they did what you said, and they dotted every I and they crossed every T, for that to be a year, no wonder so many people refuse to go along with
Well,
prosecution.
well, I think that that's where the hard part and where the rub comes in too, because for people who have had false allegations made against them, when it's made public and everything initially, you're now painted as a pariah. And even after exoneration, like if it is clear and it is found somebody lied, there's still a little bit of a stain on you. So I think it's just the because so much stuff is he said, she said, or he said, or she said, there is like the absence of video evidence makes it tough, and people are always going to question it, even if the video comes out. Like you still, it still leaves a mark.
Yeah, I all I know is that I think BYU be, because anybody affiliated with BYU could point to the honor code and say, no, following this is going to bring great value to your life and keep you out of situations. And I don't think that this is a time to turn around and address or abandon the honor code if you're BYU. I think this is a time to point to it and be like, if you came to this university and you said you were going to take this seriously and you actually followed through with your word, you're not going to be in a situation like this.
Now
And yeah,
that
these are college kids, and yeah, reality is reality. But
well, see
oh
here
man,
people will tell you all the time, and I'm a big, when your values are your values, and they are not bad values. If you say your value is, listen, I don't trust black people. Like that's not a value. You know what I mean? But if you're saying, premarital sex or alcohol, abstaining from alcohol and this and that, and those are the values of your institution and the things that it was founded upon, you got to stick with those, because there are clearly plenty of people who want to sign up to do it. Now the punishments may need a little bit of a tinkering, but the idea that it should just be ignored, yeah, nah, I don't think that makes any sense to me. All right, next thing up that we got to talk about. Ralph, do you realize that there is apparently a butterfly effect between Drew Brees and Alabama winning 6 championships with Nick Saban?
I didn't even think about it before today, but now it's all I can think about.
Okay.
How close were you to ending up a Miami Dolphins?
Miami, yeah, close. I mean, on paper, that was an obvious decision. It was Miami all the way. Miami had Nick Saban. They had just come off a 9-7 season where they won like the last 7 in a row. So they kind of had it figured out. Defense was lights out. Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor. I loved all their coaching staff. They were running the same offense that we were running. I'm sitting there eating dinner on Wayne Huizenga's yacht. He's there at dinner talking about, hey, we're going to go play golf in Scotland every summer with Dan. No state income tax. I'm like, dude, this is all paper. Miami, here I come.
Yeah.
Right? And then on the flip side, you got New Orleans. 6 months post-Katrina, some unknown head coach named Sean Payton, right?
Yeah.
Who's this guy, right? So again, on paper, it's like, this is so obvious, but I'm not leaving anything to chance. I'm going to go and I'm going to give each one like it's fair opportunity. Like the Miami trip was amazing, with the exception of they put me through the ringer, like 6 hours of this medical testing. Because I was only like 8 weeks post-op on an 8-month rehab. So I got this feeling of like doubt. And then their doctors were the ones who told Saban, we think he's got a 25% chance of ever coming back and playing again.
Jeez.
Holy cow. And I go to New Orleans and it's like, you are our guy. We're building this offense around you. They did everything they could to kind of roll out the red carpet despite all the circumstances. I mean, New Orleans was still destroyed. The epic story is Sean.
So the Miami Dolphins found a way to screw up their quarterback situation. Sounds like a story with a Herbert and Tua, right? Ownership wanted one thing, coach wanted another. And Alabama was the beneficiary.
It really sounds to me like Drew Brees is saying that he would have gone to Miami. New Orleans was special, but he'd have gone to Miami if they didn't express doubts that he was going to be good to go.
Yeah.
Which means that we probably get a hell of a Nick Saban run in Miami, Florida.
Yep.
And
then that Alabama job may not even be open.
Yeah. That's crazy to think about, that a Purdue quarterback who held an ACC quarterback at arm's length and held down that Chargers starting quarterback job to the point where they had to make a move and take a step toward their future. That a Purdue quarterback is the most important football player in Alabama history.
Yep. And speaking of Alabama history, I believe that Alabama fans, and we didn't talk about this pre-show, Alabama fans need to reset their expectations. They are no longer going to be going forward absent a real hard salary cap. Like Alabama needs to be the program that is yelling at the NCAA, that is yelling at Greg Sankey, yelling at Tony Petitti, yelling at Jim Phillips and everybody else. We need collective bargaining, because if Alabama is not in a situation where there is a hard cap on player salaries and revenue sharing money, and there's not the Learfield workarounds and Adidas and Nike workarounds and everything else that allow you to get up to like a $40 million roster. Like On3 just did a great, actually On3 essentially aggregated and expanded on an article from a guy from Texas Tech about how they're using the other outside money. Like they're directing like $10 million from their partners, their advertising partners into NIL for the kids. When in reality, college kids have no value for the most part, like no NIL value. They have pay for play. They have a lot of pay for play value, but very little NIL value. And Alabama is not one of the halves in that situation. So if you're continuing to play this game, Alabama, they're a top 15 program in that. If because their name and everything else, it that carries a lot less weight in recruiting than it used to. And they don't have money like Georgia, I'm sorry, like Texas and Texas A&M and Ohio State, Oregon. They don't have money like that. SMU even. They don't even have money like that. So this idea, they don't have Indiana money. So
Wow.
So Alabama fans need to reset their expectations, Ralph.
Well, according to Paul Feinbaum, Alabama fans need to brace for their athletic director, Greg Byrne, canceling the Ohio State series because he doesn't have faith in Kalen DeBoer. What a wild thing to put out there.
I'm out, Ralph. I want to end the show now because I can't take this.
You sound like Alabama, allegedly.
What are we doing?
What if I'll tell you this, George? If Paul Feinbaum is making this up,
he's not
filthy.
He's not making it up.
Do you think that he's embellishing his justification for why he thinks Alabama's going to back out of this game?
About Kalen DeBoer, or because it can hurt their college football playoff chances? That means you're worried about losing to them boys up north. I thought you were big bad Alabama. Thought you were the school of Bear Bryant. He's turning over in his grave right now. Nick Saban
I did read an Alabama.
At you.
I did read an Alabama blogger's justification for doing so. He said that Paul Feinbaum is probably right about the game getting canceled, but he's wrong in his reasoning. The real reason is that Greg Sankey allowed himself to get bullied by Tony Petitti into a 9-game SEC schedule. And so now the SEC has to adjust because it's unfair to them to do the hard thing of playing the same amount of conference games that everybody else does. Based on
even though the Big Ten is a better conference, the Big Ten is a better conference now. But hey, we still got to play nine games. Shut up.
They'll make the argument. The SEC will always make the argument that the tax is paid at the bottom half. That the bottom half of the SEC is the gauntlet that no other conference can boast. Of course, you have plenty of numbers to share and have shared about how the ACC has a winning record head-to-head 2 of the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Big Ten has 3 consecutive national champions. You believe the SEC is as top-heavy as any conference. It's just that the top had traditionally been the best top.
Yep. And the top ain't the best top no more. The Big Ten has the best tops right now. I look at this, and you look at Alabama's schedule in 27 and 28 when these games are supposed to be played. In 27, they only have 11 games on the schedule right now. And the other game is Marshall right now in their non-conference. So who are they going to fill the Ohio State with? They're not going to go fill it with like, Nebraska, who is not as good but still a Big Ten team, they're not going to go fill it with, North Carolina State. They're not going to do that. They're going to go fill it with like Southern Miss or the Citadel or something like that, which is, as fans, instead of justifying everything, say, you're raising season ticket prices. Give me good games. It's the idea that the championship is the only thing that makes fans happy. No, fans are invested in winning programs and in something that they can be proud about, even if they lose. Yes, of course, you're going to have fans talk ish and you should be fired and this and this and this. Yes. But the reality is you need to win the games you are supposed to win. They're taking this Texas, the reason why we missed out on the college football playoffs is because of the Ohio State game. Nah, it's because you lost to Florida, fool. That's the game that got you up out of there. And then you lost to Texas A&M. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They beat Texas A&M. But, and then you lost another game. That's why you're out of the college football playoff. So, yeah. It's got to be about the fans, first and foremost, above anything else. And until they get it, they'll keep giving you the same old BS when it's got to be about the games, not about the championships, even though we want the championships.
But it feels like the fans just do whatever, like they just support whatever the college does.
Yes,
like
you are right.
If I'm an Alabama fan and they cancel the Ohio State series, I'm going to get online and argue with people why it's the right thing to do.
When you wanted to see the game anyway.
Hell yeah, I wanted to see the game anyway, but I gotta
fall in line with the party.
Line. Yeah, I hate that. You should be able to just come out and be like, no, we're Alabama. We want Ohio State.
Exactly. All right, the next thing up.
All right, George. We actually get to talk some Pac-12.
Can you name all 8 Pac-12 schools?
No. Utah State,
yes.
Fresno State, Boise State. I know them.
Okay.
But no, this is like
all of them have state in them. All 8 have state.
This Pac-12, all 8 of them?
Yes.
North Dakota State messed up by going to the Mountain West then.
Yes.
They belong in the Pac-12. I guess.
I'll tell you the way everybody knows. Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Oregon State, Utah State, Washington State, and Texas State.
That's a fun little conference. This very much does feel like when somebody marries into a family, takes a famous person's last name, gets divorced, and then passes that name on to the kids they have by somebody else. Like, this is not technically the lineage that I'm most excited about. Shout out to Washington State, Oregon State for holding it down, I guess. But they did just introduce kind of a new way to have a 12-game schedule, and I wanted to get your reaction to it, George, because it is kind of interesting the way that they decided to put this together. They got a round robin, so everybody plays each other.
All right.
And then they have 4 non-conference games. And then what they're going to do is they're going to play an 8th conference game that doesn't count as a conference game. It's a home and home flex matchup. So it's a non-conference game versus a Pac-12 opponent. And we've seen non-conference games against conference opponents. Arizona, Kansas State, I think, did a home and home that didn't actually count toward Big 12 play because that was that was already scheduled in place. But yeah, what do you you're going to play the same team twice in 1 year, which kind of has like an NFL flavor to it. And Washington State, Oregon State already been doing this.
Well, I
Um,
think it's smart. I think that this is
mhm.
smart because it's going to give them an opportunity to create some matchups in case teams are ranked. That they can give you another data point to potentially get into the college football playoff if they need to. So they can leave. So, from my understanding, they created a schedule already. So there is a flex game that week. And then the four teams have home games already, and they can change any of the four away games.
Interesting. So if Boise State's 11-0 and San Diego State's 10-1, they could just match those two teams up.
Yes.
Huh.
Wait, as long as um the home teams remain the same. So I think it is as long as San Diego State, Colorado State, Utah State, and Washington State are playing at home, they can match them up against any of yeah. Oh wait, hold on. Yes, yes. Wait, no. I'm sorry. As long as Boise State, Fresno State, Oregon State, and Texas State are home, then any of the then they can match them up against any of the teams that are on the road. I think that's
So they
correct.
get the projected home teams can't play each other. I'm seeing that now. So
Oh
uh
God, I got confused on the teams, but you get the
yeah,
point.
yeah. So they're saying that they want to give Utah State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and Washington State a guaranteed home game, which means that Oregon State, San Diego State, Texas State, and Boise State are like floating opponents this year, and then they'll get the guaranteed home game next year. So
Yeah,
in this flex game, you can't have Utah State play Colorado State this year because they both have to have a home game, which means they also can't play each other next year. I think I'll probably just wait for them to tell me what the games are going to be.
yeah.
But it
See,
is interesting.
yeah, and I actually think that this is something that the Big 12 and the ACC should probably consider as well. Because those
Did
are
you
the
see
teams that
that
are getting.
their championship game is not going to be neutral site?
Yeah, that's going to be at the higher seed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. But I think the Big 12 and the ACC need to potentially adopt this as well if it works out well. Because what was the knock on the ACC this year? Oh, this team didn't have this team didn't have that. And you can give them another data point to be able to win and get into the college football playoff, to increase their strength of schedule, to all of that. And I think that that actually might be beneficial for those two conferences. I do not believe the SEC and the Big Ten will do this because they're not going to want, but they might. Like imagine if at the end of the season Vanderbilt, instead of playing Tennessee, they could have put them against Texas again at the end of the season. Now that could bolster either one's resume because they're playing a top team instead of an unranked team.
It's cool that you have the Pac-12 just kind of out here lead blocking with experimental stuff. We'll see. We'll see if it has an impact or if when they just end up adding a couple more teams anyway and it becomes a moot point. But as you brought up in your Tuesday live, and I highly recommend watching the George Wrighster's college football show every Tuesday, that you're going to see these FCS teams try to jump up
Yes.
because it's the last life rafts off the Titanic at this point as we move to potential super conferences, which I hate, but that's the direction things are going. You're going to have to be in the discussion in order to get one of those spots. So North Dakota State had to make their move now or never.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Uh what's up next, Ralph? With your boy Connor.
My boy Connor Stallion.
Yes.
I would of the two of us be the more likely to probably have a manifesto. but I do not claim that man. So Connor Stallions appealed his show cause penalty, and show cause. If how much does a show cause matter anyway? Jesse Minter is
Well,
the
it
new head
matters
coach
if you're
of
trying to
the
get a
Baltimore Ravens.
job.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, that you can always jump up to the NFL. Jesse Minter is the head coach of the Ravens, and he just hired your boy Prentice Gill, and they both just either have show causes or came off show causes. So, now that some of these guys that they got away with some stuff, got the jobs up at the higher level. Antonio Pierce had the show cause. He was head coach of the Raiders. The Giants, I think, interviewed him for a position or something like that. So, if you can get into the NFL, I guess it doesn't matter so much. You can just bide out your time. But Connor Stallions actually filed an appeal to have his tossed out. And what's really weird about this is he was arguing that there is an irregular and prejudicial way in which the case started, and that he didn't have the opportunity to test the credibility of the confidential sources whose information contributed to the case against him. And he said that irreparably prejudiced Mr. Stallions and negatively influenced the NCAA's subsequent investigation of the case. The fascinating thing about this, especially if you know anything about Connor Stallions, is the NCAA denied it because he didn't take the appeal seriously. He didn't actually go into detail about what it was he was appealing. So they probably would have thrown it out anyway, but it gave them grounds to just say, you didn't elaborate on any of this. And if there's one thing that Connor Stallions does, we know he elaborates. So it makes,
Yes,
why
he
would
will.
he
He
half-ass
leaves
this?
no stone unturned.
Why would he half-ass this appeal, George?
I don't know, especially because I would hire Connor Stallions. If I were a college football coach, I would probably hire Connor Stallions. We would have to have an extensive conversation about where the boundaries are. And if I didn't feel confident in that he was on the right side of things and wanted to walk the straight and narrow, then I would never hire him. But I would consult with him for sure. For sure.
There's a movie
Because he
scene.
gets the details.
There's a movie scene, and I know the two people in. I think it might be the movie where Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston break up. I think it was called The Breakup. The most uncomfortable movie I've ever watched in my life. But Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau, the director who's in movies sometimes, they're having a conversation, and Vince Vaughn's like, I don't want you to do anything about this.
Yeah.
And Jon Favreau's like, oh, I definitely won't. And then he like nods yes. And he's like, don't worry about it. I'll handle it. And he's like, no, I literally don't want you to do anything. And he's like, oh, I'm definitely not going to. You don't need to worry about it. I got it. Like, that's how I feel like any conversation with Connor Stallions would go. It'd be like, hey, I just need you here with your work ethic dedicated to like game planning for the upcoming opponent. I don't want you to do anything illegal. Connor Stallions like, I hear you, and you don't have to worry. You're not even gonna know what I'm up to. Like, no, I don't think you're hearing me, Connor. I need you to do things by the book, not your book, the book. And he's like, I got you. I hear you. And then he winks. I'm like, no, wink.
I got you. I hear you.
Yeah. Okay, so the reason I wanted to bring this up is because it gave me a question that I specifically wanted to ask you, because I know how you feel about Michigan's 2023 national championship. Knowing that Mike Macdonald left, and Mike Macdonald is now a Super Bowl winning head coach in the National Football League as a defensive play caller, knowing that Mike Macdonald left Michigan, Connor Stallions got an official staff position after Mike Macdonald left, and Michigan got better. Does this in any way further influence your feelings about Michigan's 2023 Natty?
Yes, dude. They were cheaters. They was cheaters. I don't even know how there's any debate about it. And then they're like, well, they still won after Connor left. Yeah, Connor was still feeding them information. And he had left so much good information there. They had plenty of data. And they had a good football team too.
They did have a good football team. They might not have had your favorite quarterback of all time, but they were
He's a
good.
bum, Rocky. He's a bum.
They probably could have got this done.
No. Nope. All right,
It's gonna be
what's the last
crazy
thing we got today?
So the last thing that we have is that the picks are set for the upcoming 2026 NFL draft. And we're going to get a lot more into this as we do every single year.
Yeah.
But as it's set up right now, you had 4 teams with the same 3-14 record. Unfortunately, my team is included in this, as they often are. The Raiders picking
Cardinals
first.
stink.
Thank you for that. And we might end up trading Kyler for your favorite quarterback, JJ McCarthy. So I'm going to have to be a JJ McCarthy defender.
What?
Who knows? I don't think they should do it, but whatever. So
you don't think which team should do it? I mean, that's a significant upgrade for Minnesota and also a downgrade at the same time.
Kyler can't run Kevin O'Connell's offense. He needs to go to Pittsburgh, but that's another thing for another day. The picks are as such. The Las Vegas Raiders pick first. The New York Jets pick second. Arizona Cardinals pick third. The Tennessee Titans are fourth, and the New York Giants are fifth. Tell me, if you were in control of all 5 picks, who you would select.
Number 1. The Las Vegas Raiders are on the clock. The Las Vegas Raiders select quarterback, Indiana University, Fernando Mendoza. The New York Jets select offensive lineman from Miami, Francis Mariota. The Arizona Amsden Cardinals are on the clock. I mean, I thought about this one for a minute because I was trying to find you help. I do not believe that there is quarterback help at number 3, so I'm sorry. You may be stuck with Jacoby Brissett for another year, but I am going to draft linebacker from the Ohio State University, Sonny Styles. Are you okay with that pick?
No.
Why?
There's Caleb Downs exists. Arvell Reese exists. There's 2 Utah tackles I would take.
Sonny Styles. I love Arvell Reese. He kind of disappeared at the end of the season. He looks like Tarzan. But I was trying to give you a safe pick, Ralph, like somebody who I'm sure will play well.
Third
I don't
overall.
want more heartbreak. Number 4, at 4th in the draft, the Tennessee Titans select safety from the Ohio State University, Caleb Downs, who's the best player in this draft.
Come on, man.
Dude, he can't help Arizona as much. He's a safety, Ralph. He's already been overdrafted at 4.
But he's the best player in the draft.
Yes. And then at number 5 for the New York Giants, I was stuck, Ralph, because on one hand, they don't really need offensive linemen. They don't really need tackles, right? I'm pretty sure they don't need a tackle. And then I was like, all right, quarterback. I'm not in love with their quarterback, but he's probably, it's fine. So you don't need to draft a quarterback, and there's not even a quarterback available at that point. So I decided for them to draft a man, but then I was like, ooh, they could draft David Bailey, but they got DNs already. But you could use 2. So I'm going to give them David Bailey from Texas Tech. My only other option was I was getting down to like Spencer Fano or like Jordan Tyson or Carnell Tate, but instead of giving them another wide receiver, because I think that they can make do with what they got, I'm gonna give them I'm gonna give them him. I'm gonna give them David Bailey, who's an absolute freak show.
If the Arizona Cardinals pick Sonny Styles 3rd overall, I will get an Ohio State tattoo. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard.
You heard it here first, people. You heard it here first on the College Football Apostles. You guys make sure that you guys like, share, subscribe, get notifications, tell a friend about the show. Peace out. Catch you guys later.